Hey y'all, time for another lore compilation. I hit 30k this past month and I'm just completely blown away. Thank you all so much. I'm pretty sure I say this every month, but I'm always blown away by the support I get, and I always feel so lucky that so many of y'all enjoy the stuff I make. I've been trying really hard to get back to 4 long-form videos a month. It's just that I have a job outside of YouTube, and every month ends up being crazier than I expect, so I am so sorry. I'm doing my best to get back to that, while still ensuring the videos I'm making are meeting the level of quality I expect out of myself. This video will be a compilation of all of my shorts from January of 2025. Because some of these got restrictions put on them for stupid reasons, I'm going to say some low-tier curse words, damn, hell, and ass. And now we should be fine. The rules are weird and I refuse to understand them. Did you know Amy's technically royalty in the Archie Sonic comics? You might be familiar with the English language manual of Sonic CD misidentifying Amy as Princess Sally, but the Archie Sonic comics give Amy a more genuine connection to nobility, as her cousin is Robbo the Hedge, the son of the last king of Mercia, Kingo the Hedge, giving Amy a connection to the royal bloodline. In addition to this, a portrait resembling her appears in the background of Sonic Universe number 47, as the Chaotix make their way through the royal family's former castle. Technically, all material identifies her as being from nobility rather than royalty, but the comics did play a little fast and loose with royal bloodlines, so I'm comfortable calling her technically royalty. I really like Knuckles' fully upgraded look in Adventure 2, but did you know his upgrades make an appearance in the comics? During the Archie Sonic Comics arc Return to Angel Island, as Knuckles had lost his Chaos powers after being revived, Rotor invented the Echidna some gear to make up for his loss in effectiveness when he goes to rescue his father on Angel Island. While he makes use of it for the majority of the arc, Sonic encourages him to ditch the accessories at the tail end. Some of the upgrades would also make later appearances, such as the air necklace in Sonic Universe number 60, as well as the shovel claw and sunglasses in the off-panel comic of Sonic Universe number 87. Mecha Knuckles would also be seen wielding the shovel claw in IDW's Scrapnik Island. This is when Antoine fought Scourge. In issue 112 of the Archie Sonic comics, after Sonic begins to receive loads of praise from Antoine's father, he realizes that this is making Antoine feel bad. Deciding to attempt to cheer up his cowardly friend, Sonic formulates a plan that will make Antoine look like a hero as well. Sonic tells him to take his dad on a walk and that he'll show up shortly. Unfortunately, while Sonic gets delayed, Antoine and his father are confronted by the soon-to-be Scourge, Evil Sonic. Antoine, convinced this is Sonic enacting his plan, attacks their assailant, knocking him unconscious in one shot. Sonic and Zonic arrive shortly to apprehend the evil doppelganger, with Antoine being congratulated on a job well done. However, Antoine then realizes that he was fighting the real evil Sonic, leading him to faint. This is when Mina apologizes to Nicole. In issue 237 of the Archie Sonic comics, Mina visits the now exiled Nicole at Freedom HQ, looking to make amends for turning the city against her. She tells her that the city needs her and begs her to come back, but Nicole declines, believing she's failed everyone, to which Mina responds that she was the one who failed Nicole, and now she wants to be there to support her as a friend. Nicole accepts Mina's apology, and at Mina's next concert, she rallies those in attendance in support of Nicole, with the HoloLinks being welcomed back with open arms. This is Metal Sonic's redemption. In issues 86 and 87 of the Archie Sonic comics, a recently rebuilt Metal Sonic captures Tails and chains him inside a soon-to-erupt volcano. Metal, electing to make it a contest, tells Sonic exactly where his friend is, but that he only has 5 minutes to make it there before the volcano erupts. The robot has no intentions of making it easy though. Sonic does make it there just in time and frees Tails just as it begins to erupt, only to be confronted by Metal once more, attempting to trap them both. Sonic attempts to convince Metal to change, that there's more to existence than just adhering to his programming. As the lava begins to flow, Metal, touched by Sonic's words, and the duo's unwillingness to abandon each other, holds back the lava, giving Sonic and Tails just enough time to escape, sacrificing himself as he is encased in molten rock. Much later, this metal would be salvaged and used as some of the main components of Shard the Metal Sonic. This is Bunnie and Antoine's wedding. After Antoine finally works up the nerve to propose to Bunnie at the beginning of issue 173 of the Archie Sonic comics, the two-'s ceremony begins the following issue, with Sonic as Antoine's best man and Sally as Bunnie's maid of honor. Antoine is characteristically nervous about the ceremony, no thanks to Vector. Essentially, everyone in all of Knothole Village attends the wedding, except for one person. Espio, meanwhile, is on a solo mission to Robotropolis, where he discovers Eggman's plans to attack Knothole. Unfortunately, he is captured before he can warn anyone, leading to the destruction of the village the following issue. In IDW's 30th anniversary comic, Tails asks why he only gets to be copied as the Tails doll and not as a cool metal Tails. But in the comics, that wasn't quite the case. In issue 118 of the Archie Sonic comics, Tails is temporarily roboticized as Mecha Tails as part of an experiment by the alien species the Bem. While he is changed back to normal, an alternate universe version of this roboticized Tails appears in Sonic Universe issue 31. A proper Metal Tails would be introduced as part of Eggman's Metal series in issue 37 of Sonic Universe, and sees his first and only deployment in issue 240 of the main series. Unfortunately, the combined efforts of the Secret Freedom Fighters and Team Freedom make short work of the robot. Now, thanks to Sonic Superstars, we do have a proper Metal Tails in the games too, so Tails can't complain anymore. Back in the early days of the Archie Sonic comics, Crabmeat was one of Robotnik's original minions. Appearing first way back in issue 0 of the Archie Sonic miniseries, the Crab Robot acts as the Doctor's loyal henchman. However, the Doctor would see him as disposable, repeatedly destroying him, whether it just be as an act of cruelty or as punishment for his incompetence. After all, the Doctor had more of him. Crabmeat would then be absent from the comic for over 100 issues before returning as one of the many Robotnik creations on the island of Misfit Badniks. He doesn't fare much better in these appearances, being both beaten by Sonic and eventually being crushed into a cube with the other Badniks by the 40 Fathom Freedom Fighters. Crabmeat does make an appearance in Archie's Sonic Mega Drive comic, but lacks any personality this time around. This is when Sonic faced off with Honey the Cat. During the Champions arc of the Archie Sonic comics, Sonic and Honey are set to face off in the semi-finals of the tournament. Before the fight, however, she tells Sonic that she's realized she's in over her head, and that she knows that Sonic needs to get to the finals anyway to win the Chaos Emerald. Sonic comments that even if she's planning to throw the fight, that they still need to put on a show for the audience. To which Honey agrees, flipping him. The two begin to battle, and Honey is able to get behind Sonic, but thankfully he saw her use this exact move on Tails, allowing him to counter it and throw her out of the ring. She seems to take it well. Billy Hatcher makes an appearance in the Archie Sonic comics. During the second Mega Man crossover, Mega Man, Amy, and Rush arrive in the world of Billy Hatcher, trying to prevent the Mavericks from draining the life from this world. However, when they arrive, they find that Billy Hatcher and his friends are already making short work of Wind Crowrang, commenting that they already have experience fighting crows. And when another of the Mavericks arrives, Billy is able to take them out just as quickly. Before Mega Man and Amy can even introduce themselves, the God of Chickens tells the heroes that they must join the fight against Sigma. The group does participate in the final battle, though their main contribution seems to be having to be rescued by Amaterasu, so exactly how effective they were is questionable. This is when Scourge faced off with Zonic. In issue 197 of the Archie Sonic comics, after defeating Scourge, Sonic looks to deliver him to the Zone Cop's multiversal prison. Unfortunately, the Dark Duplicate is able to break free and the two begin to fight, before being interrupted by Zone Cops Zector and Zespio, who escort them both to the No Zone. Upon arrival though, Scourge breaks free again and goes on a rampage. Zonic the Zone Cop arrives to help deal with him, and Sonic decides to team up with his perpendicular counterpart. Zonic acts as a distraction, allowing Sonic to land a good hit on the evil hedgehog, which gives the Zone Cop the chance to slap a control collar on Scourge, finally defeating him. Despite now being apprehended, Scourge says that while he may be beat, he's not through yet. This is when Robotnik turned into an egg. In issue 21 of the Fleetway Sonic comics, after being advised to update his image, and despite being offended at the mere suggestion, the Doctor decides that perhaps it is time for a change, and encases himself in a giant egg. In the meantime, his assistant Grimer runs things, and even manages to capture Sonic. When Robotnik finally hatches the following issue, he has now turned into something resembling the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog design, commenting that he feels more powerful, more deadly, and more rotten than ever. And he'd keep this design for the remainder of the comic. This is when Scourge went super. In issue 195 of the Archie Sonic comics, after finding himself clearly outnumbered by pretty much every hedgehog, Sonic's evil doppelganger flees to his throne where he stored his universe's equivalent to the Chaos Emeralds, allowing him to turn super. And when both the Freedom Fighters and Suppression Squad arrive the following issue, they find everyone already knocked unconscious. The evil hedgehog begins making short work of the new arrivals before being temporarily stopped by Silver's psychokinesis, though Scourge is able to break free from it very quickly. Even the combined efforts of everyone working together isn't enough to keep him down. However, Scourge meets his downfall after Sonic taunts him that he needed to go super to beat him, baiting him into dropping his super form, and when he does, it leaves him completely burnt out. This is how Cream joined the comics. In issue 217 of the Archie Sonic comics, Cream and Vanilla's house and its surrounding chow garden is being attacked by Snively in a giant mech. Thankfully, Amy arrives and begins fending him off. But when she finds she can't do much damage to the mech's legs, Cream offers to fly her above the mech, giving her the direct hit she needs to take Snively out. Unfortunately, Amy hits him a little too hard, causing the mech to crush Cream and Vanilla's house. Amy then offers to let the two stay at her house while Nicole builds them a new one, and also brings along all the nearby chow to live in a new garden in New Mobotropolis. This is how Fiona Fox freed herself. In the earlier days of Robotnik's takeover, Fiona, along with Mighty and Ray, would be captured by him. The three attempt to stage an escape but find themselves quickly overwhelmed, with Fiona being taken away to Robotnik's lab. Sonic arrives shortly after, freeing both Mighty and Ray, and the three plot to rescue Fiona. However, when Ray attempts to disconnect a device from Fiona, an accident with its power supply causes him to be warped away. Thinking his friend was gone forever, Mighty begins tearing apart the base, and in the confusion, Robotnik is able to escape with Fiona. Robotnik would then create a robotic duplicate of the Fox and leave her to rot in a prison cell. Fiona, realizing that no one was going to come for her, escapes the prison by digging a tunnel over the course of 2 years, growing deeply resentful of her failed rescuers. This is when Eggman saved Metal Sonic. After facing off with Sonic and Silver in Sonic Universe number 75, Metal found himself stranded in deep space after the duo tricked him through a portal. Thankfully, in issue 276 of the Archie Sonic comics, Orbot was able to locate Sonic's doppelganger. Eggman quickly becomes intent on reclaiming his prized creation, and while Orbot attempts to warn him of the dangers of going after Metal alone, the Doctor refuses to listen. However, once he passes through the portal, Eggman is immediately attacked by a space monster. The Doctor attempts to fight off the beast, but is almost immediately outclassed. Metal, running on very low power, hears the Doctor and uses his last bit of energy to save his creator. And while this did very little to the monster, Eggman's able to use this opportunity to escape back through the portal with his powered down robot. This is when Snively tried to apologize. In issue 38 of Sonic Universe, after betraying Eggman, Snively stops in Central City to reunite with his half-sister Hope. While she attempts to alert Gunn at first, he's able to convince her to hear him out. He tells her that he's done working for Eggman and that he wants to start a new life and that he doesn't want to do so without his baby sister. Hope isn't sure at first, as Gunn's commander had been kind to her, but Snively almost manages to convince her, until he makes it clear that he doesn't want a new life at all, but for them to take over the Eggman Empire together and then rule Mobius as a family. Realizing her brother will never change, she tells him she's staying to work with Gunn and for him to get out of her life, which reduces them both to tears. There's a weird recurring history of Tails being dressed as a cowboy. During the development of SatAM as late as March of 1992, Tails was conceptualized to always be wearing an oversized cowboy hat, equipped with 2 toy guns. And despite his young age, he's described as having a deep gravelly voice with a country accent. While this didn't make it into the actual show, a little over a year later, Tails would once again be dressed as a cowboy in the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog episode, Magnificent Sonic, with him serving as the deputy to the newly hired Sheriff Sonic. Then, 3 decades later, Tails would go yeehaw mode once more in IDW's 2023 Sonic Halloween special, as he and Sonic help the Chaotix track down some candy thieves. I think him and Knuckles should have matching hats. So Sonic Boom's version of Sonic might not be able to go super. While of course, because the Chaos Emeralds don't appear in any Sonic Boom media, just the similarly named Chaos Crystals, Sonic's super form remains completely absent from most things Boom related. However, at the tail end of the second Archie Mega Man crossover, Styx returns to her own universe and begins recounting the events to her version of Sonic and Friends. She asks if they believe her, to which Sonic sarcastically replies, "Oh sure, I turn gold and fly around all the time," definitely implying it's something he's never done. Knuckles' super form makes a few appearances in the Archie Sonic comics. The first appearance would be in the special Super Sonic vs. Hyper Knuckles, where after a series of misunderstandings, the two head for another zone, collecting 50 rings and 7 Chaos Emeralds, continuing their fight as they both transform into their super forms. Their fight ends up growing so destructive that it ends up shattering the whole zone. The form would next be seen in issue 56, with Sonic, Knuckles, and even Tails all entering super forms to do battle with Mammoth Mogul. The form's final appearance would be in issue 141, where Knuckles enters the form to make short work of Hunter. They do call it Super Knuckles here, but it's the same form. This is when Silver met Gold the Tenrec. In the Sonic Universe arc The Silver Age, after a meeting goes poorly with the Onyx City Council, Silver begins receiving telekinetic messages to return to the building at night. Upon sneaking back into the tower, the psychic messages return and begin guiding him to a meeting place, where he and Professor Von Schlemer meet a council member who introduces herself as Gold. Unfortunately, before Gold has a chance to explain the situation, the rest of the council arrive and sick their robots on them. Silver manages to fight them off for a bit, but is clearly outnumbered, with the group being captured and Gold being forced to open an interdimensional portal against her will. We've gotten to see a Metal Amy a few times. In issue 240 of Archie Sonic, Metal Amy is launched by Eggman as a part of Team Metal. Funnily enough, she and Big the Cat end up being pretty evenly matched. Even when knocking him back with her dual hammers, he's able to hit her right back. And when Silver manages to freeze her with his telekinesis, Big destroys her by punching straight through her. Way back in Fleetway's Sonic the Comic number 22, we almost got to see a Metal Amy, as Robotnik nearly succeeded in turning the pink hedgehog into one of his super badniks, before Sonic managed to rescue her. And finally, thanks to Sonic Superstars, Metal Amy has now made a proper appearance in the games. Shadow dies in the second Mega Man crossover. After Sigma's Unity engines cause Sonic and Mega Man's worlds to fuse, one of the unintended consequences is the fusion of Mega City's government building with Gun's air carrier. While Team Dark attempts to quickly evacuate everyone from the crashing structure, it explodes before anyone can escape. From the raining debris, Sonic ends up catching one of Shadow's inhibitor rings, the only remnant of the ultimate life form. Thankfully, as the events of the crossover are undone by Xander Payne, Shadow and everyone else who was lost are brought back to life, much to the joy of Sonic and confusion of Shadow. This is Bunnie and Antoine's honeymoon. In Sonic Universe number 17, Tails takes Bunnie and Antoine to a small deserted island where he has a small workshop, so they can finally celebrate their long overdue honeymoon. While Tails goes to work on some personal projects, the two set up their campsite, go scuba diving, and generally enjoy each other's company. Unfortunately, the two's vacation is interrupted by the Battlebird Armada. Both Bunnie and Antoine manage to hold off their forces for some time, but are eventually overwhelmed by their sheer numbers and are captured. This is when Tails fought Honey the Cat. In issue 269 of the Archie Sonic comics, Honey and Tails face off in the first round of Breezy's Chaos Emerald Championship. The two start off shaking hands, with Honey imploring the fox to give the audience a good show, before cheap-shotting him in the stomach. The two begin to fight, but just as Tails is about to land a good hit, Honey points out a rogue wave heading right for him, and when he looks away, she uppercuts him directly out of the ring. Tails is obviously frustrated with her for eliminating him in the first round of the tournament by cheating, but Honey points out if she wins, she'll be giving the Freedom Fighters the emerald anyway, and even offers to make amends by helping Tails accessorize, which Tails does not appreciate. This is Jet's comic debut. In Archie Sonic number 163, Jet attempts to steal some technology from Eggman, only to end up being captured. Eggman can't help but be impressed by Jet's board, and after seeing how naturally competitive he is, the Doctor strikes a deal with the Babylon Rogue. Beat up Sonic, and Eggman will let Jet live. While Sonic has no problem in dealing with Jet alone, he finds himself completely outmatched when also having to deal with both Storm and Wave. When Sonic meets back up with his friends the following issue, Tails and Knuckles are more than happy to even the odds using some prototype hoverboards Tails was working on. When the Rogues arrive the following day to terrorize Knothole Village, they're met by Team Sonic, and the two groups find themselves pretty evenly matched. We're never shown how this battle resolves, as the story ends urging the reader to play Sonic Riders, but it's safe to say Knothole remained in one piece. This is when Surge fought Metal Sonic. In issue 4 of IDW's Imposter Syndrome miniseries, Dr. Starline sends in Surge and Kit to cause destruction in one of Eggman's bases, while he goes to confront the Doctor. The duo have no trouble ripping through badniks, but after Eggman discovers them, he sends in Metal Sonic. Surge finds herself completely outmatched by the robot hedgehog. Only after Kit begins to help does he begin to struggle. The battle ends after Kit encases the Doctor's prized creation in a ball of water, which Surge subsequently electrocutes, which causes just enough damage to cause Metal Sonic to shut down. This is when the Street Fighter characters appeared in Archie Sonic. During the second Mega Man crossover, during a battle with Sigma's forces, Styx is unintentionally knocked through a Genesis portal and finds herself in a strange world, and immediately demands to be taken to their leader. Instead, she's somewhat expectantly brought into custody, where she explains the situation. Fortunately, they believe her, and her interviewer is revealed to be Chun-Li, who offers to make some calls for backup. The following issue sees not just Chun-Li, but Ryu, Guile, and Ken all appear from a Genesis portal, who Styx introduces as the new and improved Team Styx. The fighters all greatly impress the heroes, except Sonic, who looks like he's about to sue somebody.
Sonic Boom!
While he isn't directly recruited, M. Bison figures out the multiverse event is happening and invites himself, along with others like Vega and Balrog. He does take the time to reassure Ryu that for once they do have a common enemy. The group of course participates in the final battle right alongside the main cast. Thank you all so much for watching. A special thank you to my patrons, and a special shout out to my $5 patrons, Ned Rex, Nate DM990, Diddly Doo, and Queer Kaiju. See y'all in the next video.